Conversations with Faith Leaders on Health. This series looks to be a tool specifically for faith leaders of any background looking to serve a variety of communities through either developing or sustaining an already established health ministry. I am your facilitator, Krista Forbes, and this series is hosted by Our Health Ministry, and it was developed in partnership with Morehouse School of Medicine's National COVID-19 Resiliency Network. Our health ministry is where health, technology, and community intersect to provide trusted information, tools, and connections that support faith-based organizations. Now, I will look to have a variety of conversations with faith leaders who serve a variety of denominations about their interest and or involvement in health ministries. And today, I have the pleasure of being joined in conversation with Reverend Dr. Roland Forbes of the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Dr. Forbes, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am well, thank you so very much. Well, I am so interested and so excited to be talking with you and really wanting to have this conversation and getting started about what makes you really want to start a health ministry. What's going on in your mind? Because correct me, but Ebenezer does not currently have a health ministry, correct?
Correct. But I think it's a natural migration in terms of the Black church, particularly coming out of COVID. But prior to even COVID, we've dealt with a number of health issues. Certainly, you have within any congregation people that battle diabetes, that battle heart problems, that battle cancer. One of the things that always catches my attention is that there's a prohibition in some sense, silent prohibition of going to the doctor until you've reached a point where you can't handle your own health. And so being proactive in terms of ministry, I think is very important that the church give access to people in order that they might be able to meet their health needs.
Yes, that silent prohibition that that can truly be the killer because we often use the emergency room as a primary care physician
Yeah.
stop, and it should be the last stop as opposed to the first.
And let me say this right quick. If not the emergency room, a lot of people will find themselves going to quote unquote community health centers.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself in a long period of waiting just to get in to see a doctor. You're not going to see one consistently. Um, I don't want to measure the effectiveness of the healthcare, but you're delaying a lot of treatment by just running to these places all the time.
Yes, yes, definitely. Well, when you think about getting started, what would you say are going to be some of your most beneficial resources that you currently have? Are you currently working with any community organizations, or do you have something in-house that will kind of help solidify and launch you in the right direction of your health ministry?
But we've gained partnerships,
Hmm.
worked with a few of the hospitals here. The main hospital here would actually be LGH, which is a Penn hospital, University of Pennsylvania, out of Philadelphia, since we're a western suburb. And then also the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center
Hmm.
owns a hospital here. And recently, Penn State built their own hospital here.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's a growing population. We partner now with the Penn Hospital, University of Pennsylvania Hospital, as part of the Homeless Coalition. We have a homeless shelter in our church. And so during the period of COVID, we were able to offer different sites with other pastors for COVID screening, COVID vaccinations, and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. But also, I think it's important that we take that a step further. And so there have been nurses. There's always a nurse in the church that want to start a nurse ministry.
Right.
So we have nurses that want to start nurse ministry, but they're limited in what they can do.
Yeah.
They'll take temperatures. They'll take your temperature. They'll get you up when you fall from shouting. I think that there ought to be more than that. So we have a lot of resources. We just got to know how to pull it together.
To pull things together. That sounds wonderful. And when you think about those types of resources, and correct me, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, can you give me a little bit about the demographic? Like, where is that geographically? About how far outside of Philadelphia is that?
Basically, it's about 45 minutes outside of
Okay.
Philadelphia.
Okay. Okay.
It is mainly known for its farming and tourism industry.
Okay. Okay.
Everybody will come here. There are actually people live in Lancaster that work in Philadelphia and back and forth,
Okay.
live in Philadelphia and work out here. Demographically, Lancaster City is the largest, but it's one of the richest and largest counties in the state. Diversity in terms of that, you have a small minority population here in the city and a larger Hispanic, but it's also expanding. I work with the city on different projects. And so the diversity of particularly the city and the surrounding suburbs has grown exponentially. It has exploded. And so you find yourself having to minister to different ethnicities, different cultures, different beliefs. And so you have to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, and the reason why I posed that question because I was just listening to you identify UPenn having a presence there, Penn State's hospital, all of these institutions that are coming there to serve the communities. But certainly, again, it does open up opportunities for churches like you, for other faith organizations to think about those serving institutions that are already hospitals that are recognizing the growth potential in an area and to build those relationships as well. Now, when we think about that's the upside, right? We always like the upside. Now, on the other side of that coin, have you thought about, launching a health ministry in this day and time? What challenges are you able to, are starting to come to the forefront of your mind? Any challenges or hurdles?
Well, definitely. Certainly, Ebenezer cannot effectively reach the entire area. The larger churches, African American churches in this city, in this sector, would be Brightside Baptist Church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, St. Bethel, AME. There's one Raised Temple. And so those would be the larger churches. We have certainly a great number of smaller congregations. And so the one of the challenges is to get them to partner. Most pastors, most preachers, most ministries want their own identity in terms of ministry. But at least my vision is to try to share the benefit of partnerships without trying to get creditship.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Partnership not only maximizes your effectiveness, but it also eliminates anyone trying to hold anything over another, if I can see it that way. So everyone gets credit for it, but also everyone receives the benefit of it.
Yeah, and I think collaborations, we're seeing that really across the board, across all sectors, across all areas of work, that collaborations are very important. And it is for the long-term viability of the community. So definitely applause to you for having that vision. When we think about the past 2 years, that have certainly increased everyone's awareness of inequities, people of color face as it relates to our health systems. Those inequities have tremendous impact and too often have resulted in higher disparities that communities of colors face, like significant higher rates of COVID infections,
Mhm.
hospitalizations, and deaths, and the like. When you think about those types of gaps that exist in our health community, in our current health system, is there anything in particular that you would like to tap into or try to focus your attention around when it comes to maintaining or starting your own health ministry? Anything about those numbers, those disparity numbers that come into play for you in developing this?
Early screening,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is of utmost importance. Having, I think last year, I think I shared this before, but having last year preached over 50 funerals.
Mm,
Number of those were from COVID,
mm,
but also from cancer, having lost my oldest sister a
mm-hmm.
few years ago to cancer, and about 7 years ago, losing my granddaughter, who was 5 years old, to, um, I can't even think of the name, but it was brainstem cancer. Um, what can be done to do early screening, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer. All of those things are such a challenge, particularly again in the African American and Brown community, that early screening would be very helpful
Mm-hmm.
in trying to bring down the number of deaths from that. It's a tragedy to hear people going to the doctor one moment and then being diagnosed with the fourth stage
Mm-hmm.
of cancer. So I think the biggest challenge is to educate people that screening is important, that finances should not be a problem,
Mm-hmm.
that access should not be a problem because of transportation. Everybody's dealing with $5 gas right now. So we want to make sure that the churches are actively involved. My growth in ministry has always been to minister to the whole person and not just try to deal with someone spiritually.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But and you're right. I mean, I think there is an opportunity of messaging to empower people by knowing before they have to know.
Mhm.
And that's what pre-screening can certainly offer. Well, I could talk to you all day about this, but I'm not going to take up all of your time. But I definitely want to just thank you, Reverend Forbes, for sharing this and sharing your vision of collaboration as it relates to starting a health ministry. Again, you've given some great nuggets and great insight during this conversation with you as a leader, certainly a proven leader in the Lancaster area. I do want to invite you and others to learn more about developing or sustaining a health ministry, that they could visit the Our Health Ministry website, and that is found at www.ourhealthministry.com. Again, that's www.ourhealthministry.com. So, again, many thanks to you for being our guest and participating in our conversation. And certainly thanks to the Morehouse School of Medicine's National COVID-19 Resiliency Network for providing the funding for this conversation. Thank you and have a great day.
God bless you.